we're going to talk about the flock camera phenomenon, which people are increasingly aware of. But I would say that one of the key dimensions of the flock story is that it kind of suddenly erupted into many of our consciousnesses recently, because it's sort of quietly been installed around the country without a discussion, which is a big key to the problem. So these cameras are, Flock is a company. This company is producing cameras. I think there are something like 80,000 acknowledged cameras in the US at the moment. And what they ostensibly do is sit there and passively, they're solar powered. The technological innovation, to the extent that there is one, is that they don't have wires that have to conduct data back to some sort of data center. They are wireless and therefore broadcast through the cloud. And what they are ostensibly there to do is to track license plates. And
you want to put? Can we put up the their website just to see like exactly what you're talking about?
Flock's website or DFlock? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Flock first, just to see in their words what it is that they're doing. How effective is Flock? 2025 impact census results from 700 law enforcement agencies. Their claim is that the Flock technology supported more than 1 million investigations, assisted in solving 20% of cleared cases, helped locate more than 10,000 missing persons, and contributed significantly to stolen vehicle recoveries across the country. Just thought it was worth showing what they say
the face that they're putting forward. And the face that they're putting forward is, look, this is not really an invasion of privacy. You know, it's just tracking license plates as you drive down the street on a public road. So there's nothing really to be worried about. And these things do a hell of a lot of good, according to them. Now, the problem is that the argument to make in favor of these things is very straightforward. In fact, we've just done it for them. The argument against them is actually subtle and at least complicated and many dimensional. So let us just acknowledge up front that if you have a network of these cameras deployed across civilization, it will result in the solving of a bunch of crimes that you would not otherwise solve. But I would also...
The evidence actually doesn't support that conclusion. So what I find when I go looking is cars are found, but perpetrators are not. So people get their property returned to them with the help of Flock cameras, but crimes are not being solved at a greater rate, and the people who stole the cars aren't being found.
Okay. Well, I would point out that this actually points to a hidden dimension of our current police situation, which is that the people who are organizing it and dictating it don't actually give a shit about us. Okay, that's the point. They've stopped policing in large measure. There are entire parts of the country, we've lived in them, where people don't call 911 because nobody frickin' shows up, and it doesn't matter what it is that you're reporting. You can be reporting a literal home invasion where somebody is threatening you in your house and the police don't come for an hour, if at all. So the point is, they're not solving crimes even with the data about where to find the car. Well, that's because nobody's doing any policing. Why are they not doing any policing? Because they don't actually give a shit about us. That's why, right? This is not their neighborhoods that aren't being policed. It's our neighborhoods that aren't being policed. So I will grant that in a world that actually functioned, if you deployed these cameras everywhere, you would solve a good many crimes. Some of them absolutely horrifying. You would solve some crimes. But I would also point out that if you were to activate every microphone on every cell phone carried by every person and record everything said by those people, you would also solve a bunch of crimes. So the point is, the fact that you're going to do some good here, A, doesn't mean anything if you're not doing the good that you could be doing by going back to actual policing and investing in it, right? But it's also not true that everything that does some good should be embraced if it involves a massive compromise of the liberties that make this a great country.
You know what? Unfortunately, there's a perfect analogy here to sunscreen. Does sunscreen reduce sun exposure? The best case scenario, okay? Using a physical zinc and tallow-based sunscreen, and you've reduced your sun exposure, not so much that you're now sun deprived, but enough that you don't get the melanoma that you would have gotten that has killed you. That is the equivalent of a crime being solved because there was a Flock camera in the right place at the right time. But more people end up harmed by lack of sun exposure and by the toxins in their chemical-based sunscreens than they do helped by the fact that they had exactly the right confluence of factors that helped them with regard to their melanoma. It's exactly the same thing. Wow, we've got a problem and we can solve it with perfect surveillance. So you are telling us that all we have to do is sacrifice our First Amendment rights and all of our privacy, and we can move towards the asymptote of a crime-free state? No, thank you. No, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, of course, Ben Franklin nailed this one. I'm sure I won't get the quote exactly right, but he said, you know, those who would surrender liberty for safety deserve neither. Mm-hmm. But this is just one of many objections. This is an invasion of privacy. It is an invasion of privacy without probable cause. I mean, that probable cause is one of the central protectors of our privacy, which is that government doesn't have the right to search you unless it has really good reason, you know, enough to stand up in a court to think that you're doing something that would justify a breach of your privacy rights. This is just going to be done en masse. But there's also something utterly preposterous about the presentation. Well, it's just looking at license plates. Hey, let me show you something. You know what this is? This is a kid camera. What it does is it photographs children.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. You're not a kid. You're not going to get photographed because This is for photographing children. So basically,
everyone wants more photographs of children.
Not everybody does, but most people presumably do.
That's not helpful.
All right. I take it back. But the point being, look, you're talking about license plates. You're installing a camera. What you say it's for when you install it is hardly the limit of what it can be used for, as many people have demonstrated. I mean, for one thing, we know that these things not only look at license plates, but they also look at other features of your car. They look at things like whether you have a roof rack, whether you've got a dent, whether you've got a bumper sticker or a stripe or whatever.
Do you want to show the DFLOC site?
Yeah, let's look at the DFLOC site.
You can either show it from my screen or yours. So DFLOC is the major, although there are plenty of outfits that are objecting to FLOC, an open source project mapping license plate readers. So what are ALPRs? Automated license plate readers are AI-powered cameras that capture and analyze the images of all passing vehicles, storing details like your car's location, date, and time. They also capture your car's make, model, color, and identifying features such as, exactly as you were just saying, dents, roof racks, and bumper stickers, often turning these into searchable data points. These cameras collect data on millions of vehicles, regardless of whether the driver is suspected of a crime. These systems are marketed as indispensable tools to fight crime, but they ignore the powerful tools police already have to track criminals, such as cell phone location data, creating a loophole that doesn't require a warrant.
Doesn't require a warrant.